Hello and welcome to Realpolitik. This is Stanley Johnny, the Hindu's International Affairs Editor. The wedding of Edmure Tully and Rosalind Frey at the Twins in the Northern Riverlands is one of the most consequential events in Game of Thrones. Known as the Red Wedding, it is the setting for a massacre of Robb Stark, the king in the north, and the Lord of Winterfell, along with his pregnant wife, his mother, and most of his bannermen. This brutal betrayal shattered the Starks' military power and ended their bid for independence from the Iron Throne, reshaping the political landscape of Westeros, the fictional continent in the series. When Israel fighter jets began bombing Iran in the early hours of June the 13th, Israeli generals reportedly dubbed a part of the operation as the Red Wedding, a pointed reference to what they wanted to achieve in the strike. Israel's primary target was Iran's nuclear facilities, but Israel knew that if it started a war, Iran, a country many times its size and armed with thousands of ballistic missiles, would strike back. So there were three targets: Iran's nuclear facilities, nuclear scientists, and its top military leadership. Much like House Frey slaughtered the bannermen and the leaders of House Stark, Israel had the aim of wiping out Iran's military command, believing that it would cripple Tehran's military response. Israel had pulled off a similar strategy in the past. On June 5, 1967, it launched a massive airstrike against Egypt's air force, causing much damage to it on the ground. Egypt never recovered from the initial blow, and Israel claimed a sweeping victory over Egypt, Jordan, and Syria in just 6 days, which came to be known as the Six-Day War. But in June 2025, the outcome was different. From an operational standpoint, Israel's attack can be seen as a success. Israel had been preparing for a strike on Iran's nuclear programs for years, a plan that gained momentum after the October 7, 2023 attack by Hamas. Israel, which immediately launched a war against Hamas in Gaza, eventually expanded it to a mini regional war that was aimed squarely at Iran. It dealt a blow to Hezbollah. It bombed the Iranian embassy in Damascus in April 2024. It killed several Iranian commanders in Syria. Its relentless bombings in Syria expedited the collapse of the Bashar al-Assad regime in November 2024. The return of Donald Trump to the White House further hardened Israel's resolve to test the military option. On June 13, 2025, while Tehran was still engaged in talks with the Trump administration, Israel struck Iran's Natanz and Isfahan nuclear facilities, killed at least 10 nuclear scientists, and assassinated many of Iran's top commanders. Executing such a complex operation in a vast country about 2,000 kilometers away was no small feat. Yet, the problem for Israel was that this operational success failed to deliver the desired strategic outcome. For Israel, which has established credible deterrence against the surrounding conventional Arab armies, Iran has always remained a puzzle. Despite its sanctions-hit economy and enduring hostility from the West, Iran managed to build a wide network of influence in the region through its non-state actors, while at the same time developing an advanced ballistic missile program and pursuing its nuclear ambitions. Israel had long nurtured the idea of regime change in Iran. If the Islamic Republic falls, Israel's last remaining conventional threat in West Asia would vanish. Israel prefers a weaker, broken up Iran, much like today's Iraq, Libya, Syria, or Lebanon, which would set the stage for a unipolar West Asia that is dominated by Israel and the United States. The post-October 7 wars substantially weakened Iran's allies in the region. Still, Iran, with its ballistic missiles and nuclear program, remained a rebel counterweight to Israel's dominance in West Asia. In the early days of the 12-day war, Mr. Netanyahu declared that Israel's operation could certainly lead to regime change in Iran, insisting that Tehran is very weak. He also urged the Iranians to, quote-unquote, act to rise up against the evil regime. During the war, Israel killed at least 30 Iranian security chiefs, threatening to disrupt the entire chain of command. But the Iranian government and the military recovered with remarkable speed, with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, taking the lead in mounting a counterattack. Iran launched a sustained campaign of drones and ballistic missile strikes that exposed vulnerabilities in Israel's much vaunted, multi-layered, American-assisted missile defense systems. Within days, Prime Minister Netanyahu was forced to turn to Washington for help. That help came on June the 21st, when US President Donald Trump ordered the United States airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo. And Fordo is one of the most fortified Iranian nuclear facilities. Mr. Trump, however, was not interested in a long war with Iran. After the strikes, he claimed that Iran's nuclear facilities had been obliterated, declared victory, and announced a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Prime Minister Netanyahu had no choice but to accept the ceasefire, with the Iranian government still standing with much of its missile capabilities. Early assessments by the US intelligence community claimed that Iran's nuclear program had not been destroyed by the US airstrikes, but only set back by a few months. Even if the nuclear facilities were destroyed, there is no certainty that Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium and all advanced centrifuges have been destroyed. There were reports based on European intelligence assessments that Iran had dispersed its enriched uranium well before the Israeli-American strikes. According to Rafael Grossi, head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran has the industrial and technological capacity to resume enriching uranium in a matter of few months. This leaves Israel in a strategic labyrinth. First, the Iranian state refused to flinch throughout the war, despite the heavy blows it suffered. Second, the airstrikes failed to destroy Iran's nuclear program, let alone its nuclear capabilities. Third, the war exposed Israel's over-reliance on the United States in both defense and offense, which was not the case in 1967 when Israel claimed its biggest military glory. Even though Mr. Trump joined the war on behalf of Israel, there is a clear distinction between the American and the Israeli approaches towards the Persian puzzle. Israel's ultimate objective is regime change, but it doesn't have the resources or the capabilities to achieve regime change in Tehran. The United States doesn't want a nuclear Iran, but it doesn't want to get entangled in another prolonged war in West Asia either. Mr. Trump's own MAGA base was revolting against America's intervention in Iran. For Iran, the Israeli-American attack was another Mossadegh moment, which is a reminder to the 1953 CIA-backed coup that toppled its elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. Iran once made a deal with the United States and other world powers over its nuclear program, only to see it torn up by President Trump in his first term. When Tehran returned to talks with Washington again, it ended up facing an Israeli-American war instead. Iran is now racing to rebuild its military capabilities and restore deterrence. Iran's leaders will also find a greater incentive than ever to pursue a nuclear weapon, as many in Tehran today argue that if Tehran actually possessed a bomb, like North Korea for example, Israel and the United States would not have dared launch this war. In Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding was not the end of House Stark. When Arya Stark, the younger sister of Robb Stark, extracts revenge for the Red Wedding by orchestrating a massacre at House Frey, she declares, "You didn't slaughter every one of the stocks. That was your mistake. You should have ripped them all out, root and stem." The 12-day war did not destroy the Iranian regime, nor did it tear out the Iranian nuclear program, root and stem. Beneath its rhetoric of victory, Israel, which is now asking the international community to stop Iran from getting a nuclear bomb, knows this too well. Israel will only grow more paranoid, closely monitoring Iran's every move, while Tehran replenishes its arsenal, readying itself to fight another day. This war is far from over. Thanks for watching Realpolitik. This is Stanley Johnny. For more such videos, please subscribe to The Hindu.